What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the breaking news in regards to Black Ops 6 being available day one on Xbox Game Pass. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and today has been an absolutely hectic day. I just got back from a quick trip I had to take earlier this week, and I had a pre-recorded episode of the Bombshell podcast go live here on the channel. It'll be linked down below in case you guys missed it, but obviously there were a number of topics we couldn't discuss in that pre-recorded episode, which we'll touch on in next week's podcast. But with that, Detonated managed to cover a lot of the news that did break today before I was able to, and that is in regards to Black Ops 6 being on Xbox Game Pass. So let's jump right into a ton of new reports that just surfaced earlier this afternoon. As a reminder, if you want to stay up to date with all things Call of Duty, we have plenty of articles going up over on Detonated's website and plenty of tweets every single hour on Detonated's Twitter. So first off, this is coming in from the Ghost of Hope, a fairly reliable leaker who's been covering quite a bit over the last couple of years. He is claiming that, per his sources, there is a new Xbox console set to release in 2026. This would presumably release while Call of Duty 2026 also does. That is the next installment from Infinity Ward, which right now we could just call Modern Warfare 4 for fun. But 2026 could be the start of a new generation of consoles. We're talking a PlayStation 6, Xbox Series Z, or whatever you want to describe it as. That could be a pretty important year when it comes to consoles. And I'm going to assume that either with Black Ops 2025 or Modern Warfare 4, we end up seeing the elimination of last-gen support, which I mean PS4, Xbox One. We'll likely stop seeing Call of Duty's release for those platforms, and then from that point forward, it'll just be PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and then whatever the next generation of consoles is set to be. Now, there's also a big report coming in from The Verge earlier today, which is that the release date of Black Ops 6 is going to be October 25th. There was already a rumor from several months ago that the new Call of Duty from Treyarch wouldn't be coming out until late October. We haven't seen too many CODs release in October. I could think of Black Ops 4 and Modern Warfare 19 at the top of my head, but in terms of Black Ops 6, the game should be coming out at the very end of October, the last Friday of the month, which I couldn't be more excited about. But on that day, we should be seeing the release of a new campaign, multiplayer, zombies mode, and all that will be available on every single platform of your choosing, as well as Xbox Game Pass, as we're about to get into. So here's what I want to point out real quickly. I am open to change. I'm not a PlayStation fanboy. I actually play on PC full time, but this update that got revealed earlier today honestly worries me. I'm open to change, but this change could be a bit troublesome for not just Call of Duty, but the entire gaming industry. So according to the Wall Street Journal, Black Ops 6 will be available day one on Xbox Game Pass. So while you have the option to purchase the game for $70 or even $100 if it's a special edition, while you can buy the game flat out on any platform that you want, PS4, PS5, or any Xbox, you will also have the option to just instantly boot up Black Ops 6 if you have an Xbox Game Pass subscription. Now, a Game Pass subscription could be purchased on an Xbox console or even on your PC, which is cool, but it's unclear what tier you have to have for Game Pass to get access to a new Call of Duty day one. It's also unclear how many Call of Duties will be integrated with Game Pass. Will it be all the older ones with DLC? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Or will it just be the new Black Ops 6 title? Now, an industry insider has already claimed that there's going to be a refresh with how Xbox Game Pass works. Probably just some restructuring with the tiers that are currently available. Probably some price hikes, but also the addition of a brand new tier, which will, I guess, cover Call of Duty or any other major IP's day one release. I'm assuming that that's going to be much more expensive than what is the current Game Pass Ultimate tier, which is the highest tier that Game Pass currently offers. It's unclear how this is going to work, but as Detonated just reported a few hours ago, a bunch of new tiers did leak out via a recent data mine, and I'm sure we'll get more context on these new subscription tiers during the Xbox Showcase event on June 9th. That's also when they're going to presumably reveal Black Ops 6 in its entirety. They'll probably announce what tier will cover Call of Duty, but for now, the new tier that was found is probably the one that we're referring to here, and I'm assuming it won't be as expensive as, let's say, the full-fledged COD title, but this new tier would presumably be cheaper than if you went ahead and bought Black Ops 6 in its entirety on your platform where you're choosing. And on top of that, not only are you getting the new Call of Duty day one with this tier, but likely a library of other games for Xbox Game Pass. Now, while this sounds pretty cool, especially for current Game Pass subscribers, here's where I get worried, right? So what I'm thinking right away is that because Call of Duty will essentially be free for certain people out there that already have a subscription or end up subscribing for X amount of dollars, either way, no matter how much it costs, it'll be cheaper than the full price of the game. This will inevitably bring game sales down quite a bit. I mean, we're looking at new Call of Duty titles in recent years making upwards of $1 billion in less than a month or whatnot. we're likely not going to see that anymore for Black Ops 6 or CODs after Black Ops 6 if people out there are just playing the new COD on Game Pass during its initial release. Now, the consequences of game sales going down honestly have me frightened because, as we've already seen just recently, following the massive acquisition of Activision for $70 billion, Microsoft's trying to make that money back. And with Xbox hardware sales already being down, and with Game Pass subscriptions ultimately being down, no pun intended, they're going to really figure out a way to bring those Game Pass subscriptions up, and it may not work. If that doesn't work, then could definitely expect more studio shutdowns, additional layoffs, more of a focus going into just their major IPs instead of indie titles, instead of other games that are just independent of any major property. And that's what I don't want to see, because we're already seeing consequences to the acquisition. I really can't imagine any more. And I can't even imagine the industry damage that'll do that we honestly couldn't have foreseen as of a couple of years ago. Now, I think apart from budget cuts, if Call of Duty doesn't significantly improve Game Pass subscriptions, I don't think Game Pass is going to survive another couple of years. I think if anything, they might even phase out the system by 2026 when the next Xbox hardware rolls around, and that could even be the last Xbox console you even see. Because with everything going on with Microsoft right now, I think a major reshuffle is about to happen with how the entire company works and how the Xbox brand is being handled. Now, here's another thing. People out there have been pretty upset with the inflation of the bundle shop in Call of Duty, right? Although seasonal updates are free, giving you new maps, weapons, modes, and giant roadmaps every, 60-ish days. Apart from that, bundles have become increasingly more expensive. We're seeing bundles that cost upwards of half the price of the game, $25, $30, $35, depending on your currency, which is crazy. So I can't even imagine the price hike we're probably going to see with bundles to cover the fact that there's going to be losses with game sales now. If the game's not going to sell as much as before because of Game Pass, they have to figure out how to make up that money somehow, which the easy answer is microtransactions. So whether that means they bring back supply drops, whether that means they increase the price of bundles, that's unknown right now, but I think that's inevitable unless for whatever reason somehow Call of Duty sells just as well with the Game Pass integration. Then we may not see any changes to how microtransactions work, but they got to make up the loss somehow, right? I think people often forget that with the bundles and the microtransactions that we currently have, that funds the free seasonal updates. They do, but when it comes to COD being on Game Pass and them missing out on millions and millions of dollars for what would have been game sales, they're going to end up changing, I think, the way Call of Duty fundamentally works, especially when it comes to in-game cosmetics. Now, what I'm also thinking is that with a Call of Duty being available day one on Game Pass, there kind of has to be some type of incentive for buying COD on Game Pass instead of just buying the game flat out. Either way, Microsoft makes all the money. They own Activision, so they're going to make the game sales from PlayStation, from PC, from Xbox hardware, wherever it is. But they'll probably want to incentivize you to get it through Game Pass, right? To make sure they pump those numbers up, no pun intended again. So I'm curious if there will be any special treatment to Game Pass subscribers, especially for Black Ops 6. Will it be a case where you only get access to, let's say, the Zombies beta for BO6 if you pre-order through Game Pass? Although that sounds reasonable for Microsoft to do, especially from a business mindset, they did promise not too long ago that they're not going to have any console exclusive benefits to Call of Duty anymore. So that means the combat packs or game modes like Survival and Onslaught. So I'm curious how they'll handle any type of Game Pass benefits for Call of Duty. Maybe there just won't be any, and it's just, hey, if you don't want to buy the game flat out, you can get thousands of games in your Game Pass library on top of the new Call of Duty Day 1 for this fixed price for this specific tier. Maybe that's how they'll do it at the end of the day, because I can't imagine they want to really step on the toes of Sony, even though they make all the game sales anyway, Microsoft at least. They probably still don't want to impact the PlayStation sales too drastically, since that's the dominant platform for the Call of Duty series in terms of sales. Either way, they're going to want to drive traffic for Call of Duty to Xbox, whether it's Xbox hardware or Xbox Game Pass. Either way, that's bound to happen, but I think it'll come down to questioning why you would want to buy a new Call of Duty title in full on Xbox or PC if you could just have Game Pass. It'll come down to that. Then it'll also come down to, if you're on PS5, questioning why you want to remain on that platform if you could also get access to the new Call of Duty along with thousands of other games, presumably, with just one Game Pass subscription if you just move to PC or move to a Series S or a Series X. That's probably what's going to happen over the next couple of years, but here's what I'm thinking as well, right? In terms of how they should handle the Call of Duty integration, this is just my opinion. I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I talked about it on the podcast recently. The way they should do it is like this. Add all old Call of Duty titles to Game Pass, maybe later this summer or maybe early next year. Add all old COD titles, right? I'm talking all the way back to World at War till now. add all the DLC packs bundled with those older COD titles. You no longer have to buy map packs anymore. That's such an outdated model, by the way. Have all of that integrated so that you can play those titles on new Xbox hardware or on PC with your Game Pass subscription. That would be cool. I'm not saying add crossplay or anything, but having that emulated support on newer consoles, that's awesome. Then when a new Call of Duty comes out, don't integrate that with Game Pass for at least a year just to ensure those game sales come in. And if you guys are like, wait, why would they do that? Well, again, I'm thinking about it from a business standpoint. If they do it the way I just suggested, that would ensure the game keeps making money as it always has and as it has been for, the last couple of titles minimum, so that we don't get to a point where game sales are down and they have to cut corners, which means shutting down other studios unrelated to Activision, which means less newer IPs, and then other consequences from there as well, like having to increase microtransactions. That's the way I would suggest them doing it, but maybe I'm wrong here, and Call of Duty being on Game Pass day one is the best thing to ever happen to this franchise and for the Xbox brand altogether. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on Black Ops 6 being available day one through Xbox Game Pass? In my opinion, they should have waited at least until the next generation with, let's say, COD 2026 MW4 to integrate new CODs day one. I hope this doesn't impact Treyarch's title at all in a way where there's budget cuts or other studio shutdowns as a result of the game not bringing in as many sales because more people were inclined to just subscribe to Game Pass. Maybe Microsoft sees it to where even if we have lower COD sales with Black Ops 6, the fact that they're pumping up those game sale numbers, maybe that's what they're really looking to do above all else, and we have all this wrong here. But I'll keep you guys posted on this story as new information is learned. There'll be plenty of Black Ops 6 details revealed over the next couple of weeks. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.